I'm an international super spy. Super spy!
The uprisings, protests, and movements of the 21st century have been largely defined by their use of technology. From the US to Colombia to Nigeria to Palestine to Ethiopia to Canada, oppressed peoples have used the global reach of modern communications technology to amplify their struggles and garner international support. Our ancestors could only dream of such power. Of course, despite the limitations of the past, radicals throughout history have exercised international solidarity to assist through revolutions and the release of political prisoners around the world. It is clear now that this new age of communication can enable far, far greater collaboration. It's also clear that we're not doing enough to effectively utilize this power. Of course, our independent media outlets, online libraries, and social media networks have done a lot to educate, raise awareness, and connect like-minded radicals. But we could be doing so much more to build meaningful, resilient, and effective relationships and connections in the global struggle. Hopefully, this video, which I've made in collaboration with the Indigenous Anarchist Federation, can help. Check out the original article in the description for both detailed resources and a catalogue of some anarchist organizations around the world. There are different levels to solidarity networks, which I would define as a tapestry of people characterized by shared values like anti-oppression, flexibility and adaptability, mutuality, and an ethic of social justice. The first level above local, of course, is regional networks. How you define your region may vary from a bioregion to an administrative region to a traditional region, but regardless, your home region communication should be your most regular form of non-local communication. Regional networking, like all political networking, should follow the basic principles of security culture in order to minimize the risk of damaging leaks or subversion. But you can still get together regularly to share upcoming events, take part in shared reading groups, discuss regional issues, go on field trips to gather intel, strategize to combine efforts, and socialize as regular people to build bonds. If your region is a bioregion, you can coordinate your ecological restoration efforts and share notes. When protests explode or natural disasters impact a region, these networks should be there to kick into gear and support. One step above regional networks are continental and archipelagic networks. This level of organizing facilitates and connects interregional communications in a broader archipelagic or continental context. The various organizations in a region can select a delegate or group of delegates to communicate for the region in continental or archipelagic communications, providing fast and effective communication across the various groups to facilitate broader movement without reliance on word of mouth, algorithms, or news releases. If a certain region is facing unrest, instability, repression, or catastrophe, these networks should be in place to call for material aid, advice, or reinforcement, or even announce projects of grander aspirations, so that the diverse regions, cultures, and situations of the continent or archipelago can stay in tune. For example, after hurricane season, organizers in the less Antillean archipelago can collect aid for those victims of flooding and displacement. Or, after government crackdowns in Colombia, Latin American organizers can mobilize to support those victims of police brutality and corruption. Of course, one area where continental networks and archipelagic networks differ is with the levels of physical connectedness and ease of transportation. On continents, roads and rail can facilitate in-person meetings and much easier shipment of material aid. Meanwhile, archipelagos tend to be constrained by expensive air and sea transportation, strict Coast Guard patrols, and overwhelming customs and port costs, making archipelagic networking efforts temporally, spatially, and monetarily challenging to deal with. Which is why it's so important to develop and nurture robust relationships and communication networks with the technology we have available to us. Until we can take back the vital ocean-going currents of our ancestors from the monopoly of wealthy yacht owners, archipelagic networks are our best bet for staying connected across boundaries. Lastly, and just as vitally, international networks. It is absolutely essential that your politics don't become limited to your sphere or scope alone. There's so much happening on the other side of the world that we can learn from too. A wise man learns from his mistakes. A wiser man learns from the mistakes of others, past and present, because we cannot afford to keep stumbling along and recreating failed and outdated methods. Fellow colonized people over the horizon have a lot to teach us about struggling, creating, learning, and fighting for liberation. See, for example, the long history of Black and Palestinian solidarity, or the lessons shared between indigenous radicals across the Americas. International networks can also direct funds from global North radicals to global South radicals, so that monetary and material resources can support our dire struggles in the colonized parts of the world. With strong international networks and resilient relationships, we can directly assist our comrades overseas without having to go through charities and nonprofits. The question remains though, how do we build these relationships? You have to communicate to build a solidarity network, whether regional, continental, archipelagic, or international. The most basic and reliable method I and others have found in the 21st century is, of course, digital. Forums, blogs, and social media are great spaces to connect with fellow anarchic, anti-colonial people in your region and beyond. I've met a lot of my international comrades through Twitter and Discord. I've even met many of my local comrades online too. It just takes a bit of effort on your part to reach out and build that relationship. Just one connection can give you a new perspective and expand your understanding of the political situation of those in your locality, region, continent, archipelago, or elsewhere, and set off a domino effect to even more connections and a true network. Do be careful though, and keep potentially illegal activity discussion off of insecure platforms. You can also communicate over the phone or on ham radio, but language barriers, expenses, and other security risks may make this method more hassle than it's worth. Lastly, you can communicate across your networks in person. If you want strong intra-regional, intra-continental, intra-island, or international relationships, look into organizing a trip. Many revolutionary movements have made use of these types of trips to build lasting international bonds. The Zapatistas have made trips around the world, and Ashanti Alston and others have visited Chiapas for themselves. Maltesta traveled to Argentina, Egypt, and all over Europe. Kropotkin, Goldman, and Bakunin all traveled a lot too. And Lorenzo Gamboa Irvin has been all over the place. Of course, these types of trips should be reciprocal if possible. You're not going to go there as a missionary or a savior. With that in mind, there are some essential skills you should pack for when it comes to building solidarity networks. First and foremost, if you're going to broaden your network of solidarity, you need to be prepared to navigate cultural differences. Observe, ask before assuming, and adapt to the needs of both sides of the conversation. You may have political differences or be at different stages, which may or may not be a deal breaker for you, but recognize that you are no dictator over other people's struggle. Drop the paternalism and stay respectful, fam. Fair critique is fair, make your stance clear, work through if you can, and if you can't, stay clear. It's that simple. As I've said before, solidarity is a dialogue. An important aspect of that dialogue is a mutual understanding of boundaries. Make sure that from the jump, both parties know and agree to what topics will and won't be discussed, what language and communication channels will and won't be used, and what the standard of security culture will be, as well as how violations of boundaries will be handled. Speaking of language, one of the best things you can do to get this process started is learn another language. In fact, if you're in a group, as you should be, you could probably pick up the main lingua francas of the world. French, Spanish, Swahili, Mandarin, Arabic, Portuguese, Russian. Multilingualism is the wave for internationalist radicals, and it's common across the world. You don't have to be verbose, you just need to be conversational at least to develop meaningful solidarity. You shouldn't be expecting people to take on the burden of learning your language if you won't make an effort to learn theirs. Learning a language is hard. I've been trying to learn Spanish for like years now, but it needs to be done to network internationally, or even regionally. I literally live in the Americas, so I have to learn Spanish. Get together with some friends and practice. And practice alone with radical literature. One of the most important efforts of the 20th century radicals was translation. The original bread book was written in French. The Communist Manifesto was written in German. Anarchy was written in Italian. These days, thanks to translators' efforts, we can read all these books in all sorts of different languages. But the work isn't over yet. We have to continue the project of intellectual cross-pollination. Even a poorly translated text is better than no translation at all. And thanks to today's tech, we can easily plug text into translation programs and make the necessary corrections afterwards. Look at folks like Moon and Anarchist Federation in South Korea, who are finally translating essential anarchist texts and contributing to the canon in Vietnamese and Korean respectively. I also know of folks translating into Tagalog, Bahasa, and Thai. I haven't seen any texts in Arabic or Swahili yet, or really any of the Niger-Congo languages like Yoruba or Zulu. It's clear that a lot of work still needs to be done. And if you have the language down, make sure you know how to converse and connect with people. If you want your solidarity to have any real depth and meaning, get to know people for who they are, beyond their politics. Don't be afraid to have fun. Building these relationships takes work. It's deeply complex, heavily political, and often very personal. But it is so worth the effort. The only way to learn how is to do it, and to try it for yourself. Send a DM, learn some vocab, put yourself out there. Reach out and make a difference together. Peace. Like I said at the beginning, this video was made in collaboration with the Indigenous Anarchist Federation. Follow them on Twitter at IAF__FAI and check out the articles on their website too for contacts and even more resources. You can also check out the International Anarchist Cooperation, which is a Discord server I'm a part of. Link below. If you have any more ideas or think there's anything I missed, leave it in the comments too. Thank you for watching. Thanks once again to the family. Ongrad, Kobe Tamayo, John Veshi, Mori Shimoni, Len P, Some Guy, Seth, J Dorrance, Ipa, Wyatt, Beyond Binary Podcast, Mamish Disgustin, Eshi the Mad, Boy, Jeff Massey, Kiminoko, Alki, Forrest Alvarez, Poodle Hawk, Joaquin Klepp Norman, Spencer Harmon, Matt, Jason Baker, Jordan, Redden Bush, Tom S, Bean, Scott Trin, Tyler Brandt, Brandon Barney, Momo Shin, and Swafkar Jones. You can join these beautiful humans and support me too on patreon.com/sayingtrue. Please like, comment, subscribe, and share with your fellow peoples. Feed the algorithm. Check out my previous videos for the fascinating topics. You can follow me on Twitter @_sayingtrue. Thanks again. Peace.